I pledge allegiance
the flag
to the flag
of the United
of the
States,
United States of America,
to the
and
republic
to the republic
for which it
for
stands,
which it stands,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you.
So this is Kristen with a quick reminder to everybody new and seasoned here that these Zoom meetings are recorded for the intention of being posted to the PEG TV website, and the audio recording is submitted. So generally, as the meeting goes, Mike Beecher, our chairperson, runs the meeting. So any questions can be addressed to Mike, and we do kindly ask that everybody identify themselves before speaking to create an ease of listening on the recording. Thank you.
Addition or deletion?
So we have several additions tonight. This is Kristen. Sally Aki is here and will be speaking under pre-requested appearances by local citizens and visitors. Under new business, we have 2 items. There was a letter that the select board received via email from the library board, from Diane from the library board, to be discussed. There was also a request from a local resident regarding the purchase of slate from one of the town-owned quarries. So that is also under new business. And lastly, the only last kind of official addition under old or unfinished business was there's an update regarding the search for the web coordinator position candidate.
Okay.
Is there anything that I'm missing, Mike?
Hi, this is John. I'd like to have just a few comments about the elevator service contract.
And under old or unfinished?
I guess it would be old business. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Introduction of those present. I'm Mike Beecher, Chair.
Charles Whedon,
Cleveland.
John Malcolm,
This is Bob Jones.
Those are our members of the select board. I'm Kristen Powers, assistant to the board.
John Sabatka.
I'm Sally Aki.
Okay, so I see we have muted out. We have Frank Nelson, Keith,
yep.
Tom Collard, and an 803-236.
Ryan Baker.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes from the previous meeting. There's nothing on the minutes that I saw that I didn't agree with. How about the rest of you guys?
No, I thought they looked pretty good. This is Ed Cleveland. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Good. Do you have a second?
John will second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes,
Ed?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay. Passed. Sally, I guess you're on deck.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for allowing me to sit in on your meeting. My name is Sally Aki. I live in Middletown Springs, and I'm running for House of Representatives for the Rutland-Bennington District, which does include both Middletown and Pawlet. And I wanted the chance to introduce myself to you, and then to find out about some of the concerns that are facing Pawlet. As I said, I live in Middletown Springs, and when introducing myself, I generally start with, no, I am not a native Vermonter, but my mom was. My mom grew up in Pulteney. She was the daughter of a Welsh slave worker, and she was very proud of her Welsh heritage and Vermont roots, and that was a major reason that I decided to attend UVM. I graduated from UVM with a degree in math, did graduate studies in applied statistics at Princeton University.
See you later.
I worked in Midtown Manhattan. I worked in downtown Detroit with General Motors International Headquarters. And then I came back to Vermont. I ended up with a degree, not in statistics, but in computer programming. I worked at Central Vermont Public Service as the manager of the programming staff. I've lived in Middletown Springs for 40 years. We've raised Morgan horses, made maple syrup, had an art gallery, and a portrait photography business. And I sort of bring a lot of this up because I think this really varied background has given me the ability to look at a problem and look at it from a number of different perspectives. I've seen big corporations. I've seen a utility company. Oh, I also worked for a forestry company and was an adjunct professor in the business department at Castleton University. So anyway, I can look at a problem and see it from a number of different perspectives, see implications from a number of different angles to help come up with the best solution. Now, I have been going door to door in all 5 of the towns. I waited through, until after a lot of the COVID restrictions lifted, and it's been an amazing experience. We have some really fascinating neighbors, and I really appreciated the opportunity to get to talk to them. And one of the things I ask people when I meet them are, what do you think is going right in Montpelier? What would you like to see changed? And what's your top priority? So now I'm going to turn it over to you, select board people, and tell me about Pawlet. What's working? How is the state helping the town of Pawlet? What would the town of Pawlet like to maybe see addressed differently, changed differently? And what's your top priority? You must have
Who wants to go first? Ed, you want to go first?
I'm kind of at a loss for words right at the moment, which I don't usually find myself in that position. But
Okay, well, I'll tell you some more, and maybe you want me to talk just a little bit more. I am running on the Republican ballot. I consider myself a very strong constitutionalist. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe that right now, after a lot of the complications of COVID, that our economy really took a hit. And I think a real priority of the state should be helping our small businesses get back on the right track. And that includes our farmers, our foresters, small store owners, that kind of thing. I think the state should maybe be stepping back from some of the other programs it has and really help to get Vermont economy going again. Is anybody out there a small business owner?
No, my son is.
Okay, what kind of small business?
He has a landscaping business.
Okay. And what do you think some of his concerns might be?
Well, some of his concerns are with just the regulations and stuff like that. one of the biggest problems he ran into was quite a lot of hoops to get established and meet all the criteria that the state has. And it turned into be quite a hassle to get his Act 250 permit and et cetera for that, for a small business. And
Okay, I think maybe I interrupted you, Ed, when you were going to say something else.
No, you didn't interrupt me. I'm just listening.
Sally, this is Chuck Whedon.
Hi, Chuck.
I am a native Vermonter. I've lived in Pawlet from the second day of my life when my mother and father brought me home from Granville, New York Hospital. I have been involved in the farm equipment, construction equipment, sales. Presently, I have worked the last 20 years for a New Holland dealer in New York, Greenwich, New York. But COVID played on me a little bit. Back in 18, I had a serious heart attack and ended up having a triple bypass and a valve replaced. So I was out of work for 4 months. And when I joined the team again in January of this year, it wasn't too long that COVID rolled upon us, and I work a couple days a week now since June, and a day in the office. But I know that a lot of my dairy farmers have fallen on hard times. So hopefully these things can get addressed so that they can start to get more for their product. But I hope you were able to be elected, and the wife and I were early ballots, but I wish you well.
Thank you. It sort of surprised some people that with a computer background, you would think, and I don't know, if I got to Montpelier, I don't know how much input the candidate has for their choice of committees. But I think people were surprised when I said my first choice in committee would be agriculture and forestry. As I said, I did work for a forestry company. It did have IT involvement because I was working on their reporting for green certification, which taught me a whole lot about forestry and green certified companies, that it's not just about trees, it's about everything, the other plants, the wildlife impact, the water, and they also go into the cultures or any cultural impact, indigenous people, historic things. So I really got to learn a lot, and I think that in bringing back the Vermont economy, farms and forestry are two of the areas that we could really help. And also there's a big push in Vermont on being really interested in meeting the goals set in the Paris Climate Accord. And we talk about there, the state seems to have been really emphasizing reducing CO2 emissions. But if you read the whole accord, there's the natural climate solutions, and that involves the proper management of our forests, our farms, our wetlands, and by properly managing those, I think that's an area that we could really have an impact, and setting examples for what good management can do for the climate. So agriculture is definitely one of the areas that I'm interested in helping. Anybody else?
So I guess if no one else has any more questions, does anybody from the audience have any questions that they would like to ask Sally?
No.
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Frank.
It's what we're seeing is with global warming. I hope you're on board that global warming is a phenomenon that's a reality. That we're seeing warmer winters, and we're seeing almost a year-long mud season for the roads. So a lot of the towns throughout Vermont are going to need help from the state, and this is going to be a big deal going forward to make the roads navigable for emergency services and others in the winter time or before they would freeze up. Do you have anything to offer on the environment and what your position is on the environment?
Well, as I just said, I am concerned about the environment, and I'm concerned about the state being able to look at the three different areas. I talked about two. One is carbon emissions. Another one is developing new technologies in energy. And then the third one is the management of our wetlands and farmlands and forestry. I think the state definitely needs to look at the impact of climate on the infrastructure and looking to see what we can do at a state level and then down to the district level. And I intend to be a very strong, that's why I'm sitting in on select board meetings and would continue to do so as a candidate, because I think it's very important that the representative that goes from our district to Montpelier is really in tune with the concerns of our district. Does that answer your question, Frank? He's muted right now, it looks like.
Okay, does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask Sally?
This is Ed. I just have a comment that seeing as how Sally does live on a back road, she does have firsthand knowledge about mud season.
Yes, I do. And we've lived in Middletown Springs for almost 40 years. And we bought the property in December. We closed in December, and we had our move date at the end of February, thinking it would be before mud season. I came out to Middletown to work on, painting and wallpapering and everything over Washington's, the President's weekend, and the extra day off. And I met my closest neighbor because I got stuck in the mud getting to the house. So I got to say to him, "Hi, I'm your new neighbor. Can you help pull me out of the mud?" So yes, I am very aware of what happens during mud season.
Well, excellent. Well, we appreciate it very much, you joining us at the meeting tonight, and hopefully we'll see you again.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for allowing me to sit in. I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All
Thank
right,
you, Sally.
so we can go on to the announcements, please, Kristen.
There are no announcements from me this evening.
Okay, do we have a report from the zoning administrator?
This is Kristen again. No official report submitted from either zoning or planning commission this evening. I'm unsure if there's one that's been brought to the meeting by John, perhaps.
No, I don't. This is John Sabatka. Nothing to report, of course, from the Planning Commission. We do not meet until, in fact, a week from this coming Monday, or this Monday will be our first meeting with all the 3 new members of board. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you.
Okay, I guess you're on deck, Keith.
Okay, I sent you some stuff today. Basically, follow up on what we've been doing. The sand piles up. We're working on the grading. Pretty well set in West Pawlet. We may have some touch up after this weather, but we'll see what happens. And we're well on our way in Pawlet, on the Pawlet side. So that's coming together. We're cleaning some ditches and working along when it's not grading weather. And we'll be moving into finishing that up and getting ready for winter. There is we've been offered some money through the Better Back Roads grant program that Kristen offered. Kristen filled out an application back in the spring, and then nothing really happened because of the COVID thing. So they are offering us some money on the Herrick Road project that we had discussed. And I guess it's somewhere around the tune of $20,000. And it has a completion or a substantial completion date by June 30. So if we commit to that, it's going to have to be a big commitment. That is probably less than absolutely necessary to fund the project, but it's enough so we probably need to pay attention and consider this offer. It would be changing the culverts. We got to build some, they don't want riprap. They want to lay up walls along the stream side there to maintain the edge of the road, which we can do with the slate rubble, and then incorporate that with our slate top. And we would have to cut some trees and, expand the road and the ditches on the uphill side, which is basically from the box culvert we did at Sugar Lane to the Rupert line. Would finish up the Herrick Road. So I guess my recommendation would be to get that signed and get it back to them, and plan on devoting our early summer work right there.
What do you feel that would be for a timeline, Keith?
Well, for June 30th, we would just have to get rolling on it. There's, that's a long way to draw the slate. And it's, I'm thinking we could get started on it, and as quick as the roads dry up, we can do the culvert changes and some of that. And the ditching, we're going to have to rent some kind of an excavator because there's some bigger trees down through there we're going to have to stump out. Not so much on the riverside. They would prefer we left to them and lay up walls where necessary. And, it's part of the new water quality standards, which makes us eligible because the road follows the stream bed right down through there. So, I think it's doable. Certainly maybe not completion at June 30th, but substantial completion. So we're close enough so we can get a little bit of an extension and finish up. In discussion with Alan May, he seemed to think that was quite possible. What they're giving us would at least buy our culverts and pay for our rental. And, they don't buy gravel anyway. We would be on our own in that respect. So it's enough to pay attention to. So we want to be careful about turning it down, I think. They're not giving out a lot of grants. They haven't gone, they aren't doing the whole program, but we were eligible. So they're offering us some money if we'll go forward and do the project. So my recommendation would be that we go forward and accept their offer and commit to getting it going. We can do the tree and brush work this winter and be ready to go when we actually have spring. So
that would be basically the only part of that road that really goes bad on us now.
That's right. There is some others that could use a little attention, but nothing that's, that is certainly one of the major problems. So, and it allows everybody on the south end that is more oriented to go to Route 30 and south an avenue out. So it's the stretch that we discussed. Do we not just keep going when we were there before? And we decided not to because it is, highly eligible for grant monies. So we thought we would wait till we could get some assistance on paying for it. So
How many miles is that, Keith, or
you know, John, I don't know. We would do completely to the Rupert line on that road while we were there, but the part that is eligible is only what follows the stream bed. So that is about down to Fry's old house, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
So that's the part that's eligible. And then I'm just, while we're there and we're all set up, there's not a lot to complete it right to the Rupert line. So, I don't have the paperwork in front of me. You probably don't either, do you, Kristen?
I don't right now, no.
Yeah,
It's not much.
I think the total stretch is a half a mile. And so probably 2/3 of that is grant eligible and 1/3 of it is not.
Okay.
This is,
Yeah, so let's say it's 1,500 feet down through there, John.
Okay.
this is Ed. We also want to consider on that stretch that as we found out that is a detour around Pawlet, if anything is going on in the village.
That's correct. That's another thing that makes it eligible, yes. And we've had instances where there's been accidents on Route 30 and they've detoured the traffic up through there, and the road just simply does not take that volume of traffic especially if it's in a delicate situation at the absolutely wrong time, so.
Seems like it makes sense to take advantage of some funding to do this job complete and correctly. Because of the longevity of the haul, would you try and make a deal with somebody else or one of the other towns to get some hauling done? Do you think you could make a deal with Rupert or?
Absolutely. I think Rupert is more than willing to contribute, to some extent. And, certainly, my hope would be we might be able to get somebody to load us and not have to rent a machine to put in the quarry.
Uh-huh.
And that is open-ended at this time, Mike, because, nobody's ready to commit and say, yes, June 1st, we're going to have so many loads for you ready to go or whatever, but that's
Sure.
just a communication through the winter and hope it works out. So.
Right. Would it make sense to try and get a truck driver so we could run 3 trucks and you could be there to
The
run the
potential is,
excavator on
yeah,
site?
potential is there for that as well. Yes.
Okay. So that's something other thing that we might want to try and keep our eyes open for, someone that could run that other dump truck.
Right. Yeah. So it's like I say, it's far from sugared off at this point, if you will, but it's, we've got the winter to work on it. And, if we sign the paperwork and get it signed and back to them, then we're at least in the process anyway. So,
Right.
and there is another grants and aid program that we have to at least send a letter of intent in. We don't know at this time and won't know till November what they're allowing us. The last I got from that program was the 11,500 that we got to do through by the vernal pool on the Herrick Road. So my guess would be it would be somewheres in that neighborhood, and we might even be able to incorporate that money into the lower project as well, and it would just give us some additional support because of the fact that it has to be on. You've seen our map where it has the green, the yellow, and the red and the orange. Well, that's red and orange down there, so that's that's important to the water quality people that we do a good job there. So, and the grants and aid, we are locked into BMP's, best management practices, but they do pay for culverts and some things like that. So we might be able to get some funding for that to incorporate into the same project. But we have to sign a letter of intent by October 30th, and they'll let us know how much we're eligible for, and we'll have to discuss the project at that time. So it's a letter of intent that needs signing by the 30th.
Okay.
And that's a separate grant from the Better Back Roads grant we were just discussing, so.
Okay, well, how does everybody feel about taking that Better Back Roads grant and doing that Herrick Brook project? Seems like a good idea.
Are you looking
Mike,
for a
this is-
motion? Or-
Yes, I think if we had a motion and a second, that would be the appropriate way to go through that, so.
I'll make that motion to sign that application.
This is Ed. I would second that. Oops, sorry.
Okay, so
Yeah.
John made a motion to sign the, I guess, Kristen, do you know do you want to chime in on what grant we're signing?
This is Kristen. I was posing the motion as a motion made to accept the offer from the Better Roads program for the Herrick Brook Road project. Is that correct, Keith?
That'll work, yes. And
Okay.
then that's the paperwork you sent. You forwarded it to me, but I got one as well anyway, but it was the one from Alan.
Okay.
You forwarded it to the select board last week, I believe.
Yeah. So this is Kristen again, my only kind of element of discussion is how do you want to handle, because somebody needs to sign that. Keith, is that right?
Somebody needs to sign that, which I can make sure I can send it to Deb, and then she can print it out and Bob can sign it when he does the checks tomorrow, if that would work.
Or if you want, Kristen, you can send it to me and I'll sign it and send it right back to you tomorrow morning.
Whatever you guys, whatever works.
Why don't you send it to me and then I'll sign it and send it right back to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
And do you want to, on the letter of intent, there's space for 5 signatures. I would think one is enough, and maybe an explanation that you have allowed somebody to sign for the board and give them the discretion. And if you make the motion to sign the letter of intent, then a copy of the minutes can be sent as well, and one signature should cover it.
Okay. So that would be a motion to apply for the grant to do the rest of that Herrick Brook Road.
But let's go ahead. So right now there's a motion on the table,
Okay.
a motion made to accept the offer from the Better Roads program for the Herrick Brook Road project. There's a movement made by John Malcolm. A second came in from Ed Cleveland. We discussed the signature process and now we need our result.
Okay, is there any more discussion? All in favor, Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, passed. Excellent. Now we'll move on to a motion. So does somebody want to make a motion that we apply for the other grant to finish that section of the road?
To submit the letter of intent.
Okay.
Letter of
Thank you.
intent for the grants and aid program.
And to designate a signer? Or do we need?
I can sign that one too, easy enough, so. You make that motion, Ed?
Yes, I'll make the motion to have Mike Beecher sign for the board.
Okay.
I'll
That can all
second
be-
that motion.
Okay, that can all be rolled into the motion and then I'll sign in favor of the board. Okay, John, second it. Any more discussion? Chuck?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, So we're all good with that one too.
Okay, Kristen, do you have a copy of the grants and aid letter of intent?
Keith, I do not. I have the email that came in from Barbara Noyes Pulling that said that that discussed it, but I did not see that it came with an attachment.
All right, I will send it to you when I get to work in the morning.
Okay. Or you can
Okay.
can you send it to Mike?
Send it
and
to me.
me?
I can probably send it right to Mike. Yep.
That would be great. And then Mike, you can send it to me and I can.
Right. I'll sign them right up and send them.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. And then
We'll make
just
that-
one more thing to make sure that I'm all set on my end. The email that I forwarded to everybody from Alan that has the attachment, I'm sorry, my mind is failing me on remembering this. So did that have everything that we needed in that email, Keith?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and one more thing that happened after I sent the memo there is our winter salt is $68.60 a ton this year, and we'll get it through Appalachia Salt Company again.
That's pretty close to last year, isn't it, Keith?
Pretty close. Yeah, what the state did is a reverse auction this year. They put last year's price up there and let them bid down.
Mm-hmm.
Companies bid down, and that was so close that companies wouldn't bid. They were like a penny a ton they would drop, or something like that, but nothing too substantial. So they were all about the same price, and we've dealt with Appalachia for 2 years now and are very happy with them. American Rock Salt Company actually got the state bid, but Appalachia will match their price. So I think it makes sense to deal with them. We have good service, and it's a better product in my opinion, so.
Okay. As far as the road salt, sand, you said that everything is up. Did you put the stone in West Pawlet, or do you have
There is
enough there
some
now?
stone in West Pawlet and some stone at Pawlet. We may get a little more stone at Pawlet, but I don't know that we need quite as much because we're using the stonier product from Martell, so.
Okay.
So yeah, the piles are up and ready to go, and we'll get some equipment ready, and hopefully we'll be ready when it snows if it's not next week, so.
And the new truck, it's there, but
It's there and they're working on it. I have not heard any status report on it since it went in. Other than that, they were going to start working on it. They may slide it in and do the cab part, and then, wait for an opening before they can get the equipment on. It was going to depend on the availability of other towns' vehicles that came in. So, it's, and when we dropped it off, it was looking pretty good that we were going to jump ahead because other vehicles weren't coming, so.
okay. Where do you think we can get the best appraisal of the truck that we have now?
Oh, good question. I don't know. I don't know, Mike.
Okay. But maybe we could maybe them at Viking may, either if they don't know, they may know a dealer that would be able to give us a good appraisal of the truck.
Right.
So you kind of sniff around to see if you can get some input from someone that can give us some kind of reasonable value of what they feel that truck is worth.
Okay, I'll see what I can come up with. There must be somebody somewhere that can throw a figure at us.
Or even the Dodge dealer that we bought the new truck from.
Yeah, perhaps they would be interested. Yeah, at least give us some kind of a value on the truck, and we can add something for the components,
Right.
The rest, so.
Kristen?
Can you just, this is Kristen, may you please repeat the price of the salt price? For the,
$68.60 per ton.
okay. 68.60. Thank you.
Okay, do you have anything else to add, Keith?
I don't at this time, no.
Okay, so,
Well, don't leave us because Chuck has a comment.
okay, Chuck, go ahead.
I met our backhoe coming from West Pawlet, or Butternut Bend somewhere. I hope that they loaded those tires and wheels before they came back to Pawlet on both.
Today?
I met our backhoe today, yes.
Yeah, it came from the gravel pit back to Pawlet and ended up right up at John Malcolm's house. So it was there most of the day. But no, we haven't picked the tires up yet on the Bullfrog, if that's what your concern is. We'll get them.
Okay, are they in the roadway right away, Chuck, or are they on the property owner along the stream? I can't really tell from the picture.
They're on the bank, they're in the brook, they're all over.
Yeah, there's quite a pile there, Mike.
Okay,
It looks
I'm
like
just-
somebody,
I get,
looks like
somebody had
backed
them
right up
loaded on
there.
a dump truck and dumped them.
That would be my guess too, Chuck. It looked like a planned activity there. They backed right up and dumped them. Some of them
Yeah,
are in the
and
brook.
now enough time's gone by, down by Jim James's gate, they used to go into his yard. Somebody dropped off a chair and sofa.
okay, so,
I'm just going to say goodnight. I thank you for the opportunity to talk with you and to listen to some of the concerns from your town. And again, my name is Sally, last name spelled Acchey. And I hang on lots of social media and stuff. So if somebody thinks of a question they'd like to ask me as an individual, please don't hesitate to get hold of me. And thank you for your time. Good
thank
night.
you and good night.
Good night, Sally.
So I guess my question is, where does that turn into the town right away that disturbing the road and the property owners that own it? Where is that kind of a fine line there, or, you know, I'm curious.
Well, it's adjacent to the box culvert, Mike.
Okay, so it could it's potential that it could cause an issue with the box culvert, right?
Well, I don't know if it'll cause an issue, but it definitely is an eyesore.
Okay, I realize that, and I totally understand that, but I'm just trying to figure out how that all works. You know, I know we have to get it picked up, but is it our responsibility to pick up all the trash that's alongside the road constantly, or how does that work, Keith? What's your experience?
We've done both, Mike, in the past, and it is questionable how much responsibility the town has, whether it's in the right of way or whether it's on the adjoining landowner. You remember the TV sets thrown over the bank off the river road, and
Exactly.
we've seen it before, and thankfully Sparkle went over and recycled them and took care of it for us out of the pretty much the goodness of his heart. So,
Right.
that's tires. I don't think we're going to have that option, and it's enough of them there, and it happens all over town. There's a pile of tires down on the Sawmill Road, just into West Pawlet from the Hebron line that somebody has discarded there. And it probably is only going to get worse because winter's coming and people are going to be changing out their tires, and we're liable to see some more. If you remember, when we sent that dumpster, a significant amount was tires. And it was
Tires, right,
also
yeah.
the largest expense of having the thing dumped. So,
Exactly. I'm just asking questions. I know it needs to get done because it's an eyesore and stuff like that. I was just kind of curious how it all works out. But so when,
I sent you the pictures, Mike. I don't know what
Yeah.
you did with them, but
no,
you had,
I looked at them, Chuck, and I understand, but I'm also seeing like every one of those tires is $5 a piece to throw it in the dumpster too, so.
Sorry, we had, just so you guys know too, Tom Collard's hand and Ken Norman's have
Okay.
hands raised on the topic.
Okay, Tom?
Actually, mine goes back to the Better Roads grant. There's another one that'll be coming out in the next 2 weeks. I just learned tonight. So I don't know if there's a second project Keith or the town wants to look at. And then my next one is really a question. Did the town receive the transportation alternate program grants? Was that of any interest?
not that I'm aware of, Tom. I don't know that we have any plan that fits that budget right now, unless it would incorporate into something we're doing in one of the villages.
Okay.
I think they're looking at bike trails and pedestrian crosswalks and that type of stuff on the transportation alternatives. Parking for carpooling and, that type of stuff, not any really major infrastructure benefit to the town there. Unless we were going to do something with sidewalks, crosswalks, bike paths, things like that, so.
Kristen, go ahead, please.
This is Kristen too, to piggyback on that. Tom, I do believe that there was some discussion perhaps of the transportation, the group that had been kind of discussing the focus study on the downtown intersection in the village of Pawlet. They were also looking into that grant as well.
Yeah, because I got an email saying that it's going to expire. So that's why I was wondering if it's something we need to get on quicker or later.
I actually think that Sarah and Jonas are working on that, so.
Okay. Yeah, I've been off the grid a couple weeks, so I apologize for being behind on that.
This is Ed. Is there any programs or would any of that fit into, or I guess what I'm asking is, would an electric vehicle charging, a public electric vehicle charging unit fit in, say, over by the rail trail or in the middle of Pawlet, somewhere that we could utilize?
Good question.
Okay, see Ken. John, I'll get to you in a minute. Ken, you gotta unmute you, Ken.
All right, you hear me now?
Yeah.
I know someone that works for Tesla that cites vehicle charging stations. And it's a pretty good friend. I could ask her and see if she knows anything about that on a charging station. And the other question was just going back to roads to Keith before he vanished. Switch Road, the east end, what's going to happen with that? Because when it rains, it's just about undrivable.
Yeah, I'm aware. That's gonna get the same thing the rest of it got, but I can't give you a date and time on it yet, Ken, so.
All right. I mean, just some stone on it would give you some traction, but last week when you went out that way, without some winter tires, you needed 4-wheel drive to navigate it.
Yeah, we're gonna find that most of our grade jobs do that. We used a lot of chloride this summer. So there's a lot of residue there. And when that rain falls on it, what that chloride does, it's hydroponic, so it attracts and retains moisture. So when the road gets wet with that chloride in there, it retains the water right in there, and that can make them sloppy. They will roll back down hard, but during the storm, you're liable to get that sloppiness. I think probably John Malcolm even saw that on his road today, and his is one that has, part of it has been upgraded, so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
John, you had a question, John Noor?
Yeah, it was about the, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, it was about like people dumping stuff. I know a lot of towns like Dorset and Granville have transfer stations, but Pawlet, West Pawlet, Middletown Springs, Danby, we don't have, actually Danby might, but we don't have transfer stations. So people have to actually go, elsewhere, obviously, or have their garbage collected. That being said, certain transfer stations have certain days, like Pulteney has 2 days a year where you can drop off hazardous waste for free. Dorset does a fundraiser with e-waste. I'm not necessarily suggesting that West Pawlet or Pawlet engage in that, but just providing that information to the citizens to know that these resources are available and when and where people can plan to appropriately get rid of their refuse without dumping it or,
Okay, I believe we do, in a normal year, there's usually at least one hazardous waste collection day that Elizabeth advertises in the e-news. And when we closed the landfill facility, we determined that the transfer station in Granville would be where we would direct our trash. So that's why we don't have one of our own at this point. We felt that it was just as cost effective to have everyone bring their trash to Granville as to try and establish something of our own.
And it's the other factor there is we belong to SWAC, the Solid Waste Alliance, and they have random hazardous waste drop-offs through the year at different sites in different towns, all of the towns that belong to the coalition. So, paint, batteries, anything that's toxic, you can go to those drop-offs, and they're usually advertised when they happen. And I'm not sure we would reach the people that are the culprits in this situation, but anything's worth an effort. Public awareness is a big factor, and we can have Deb put it in her newsletter and so on and so forth. The best thing to do is to keep your eyes open if you see somebody riding around with a bunch of tires for a few days and then it disappears, that they show up somewhere else, is to know where they came from. That's the only success we've had in the past, and that goes for washers, dryers, refrigerators, anything that they used to take for the recycling value, but now you have to pay to dispose of.
Okay.
This is Frank.
Go ahead, Frank.
Is there a state agency that you can report this tire incident to, or the multiple instances? Number one. And number two is the Rutland, behind the high school vocational area, the football field, there's a place you can take some hazardous waste any day they're open, including computer stuff, just as an FYI without having to wait around. But if somebody's dumping stuff like this anywhere in the state of Vermont, it's definitely against the law. And the question is there any law enforcement around this where signs or something can be posted where penalties are made aware of any of the culprits and the fact that there is an investigation going on, and put that in the paper that the state of Vermont law enforcement is investigating the dumping of tires, and maybe this will scare people off if it doesn't do anything else. Thank you.
But we haven't had any luck so far. We had a lot of problems up on Switch Road and no one wanted to do anything about it either, so. The police just say, well, if you find somebody, you can, you let us know, but they really don't want to be involved. So, okay, does anybody else have anything for Keith?
Chairman Mike,
Yes.
I really just, it's not for Keith, but it's for Ed. Ed, I'll be more than glad to look into Rutland Regional and see about that. But a quick search on that transportation alternate is mostly bike paths, but I'll look into that car too on our end and let you know.
You can see some of that money from your house, Tom.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
I've been on it.
Yeah.
And now
So-
there's more and more electric bikes, so.
Yeah, so and Kristen was correct. They've been working on trying to do something here with a grant, so maybe that we could tie something in with that. I'll bring that up to that group too. So
Thanks, Tom.
you're welcome.
Okay. All right, so if we have nothing else for Keith, thank you, Keith. Do we have an assessor's report?
This is Kristen. No report from the assessor's office was submitted for this meeting.
Okay. Town treasurer's memo.
Oh, town clerk.
Or, yeah, right. Oh, I'm jumping the gun crazy here. Deb, you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Great.
Can you all hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, I did send out a memo earlier. Hopefully you all got it. I did it later in the day because we've just been so busy. Based on everything that was on the memo, does anybody have any questions, or do you want me to review it with the folks here that have not seen the memo?
I guess the first thing we should do is discuss that postage machine. It seems like the right thing to do to just sign up for that new, better machine. But I'd like to have somebody make a motion on that. Does everybody look that over or not?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Yep.
Deb, could you see any reason why that's not the right way to go?
No, they've done it before. You know, the current machines age out and they offer to come in and update it. Our lease was up in June. So he's saying you can continue with the one you have at the price that he listed, or we can swap it out for a more upgraded model for less money per month. And Julie and I talked about it, and it seemed to make sense. It just made sense.
So I think it does too. How somebody want to make a motion, or is there more discussion about it, or?
This is John. I'll make the motion that we contract for the new machine at the lower price.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
This Ed, I'll second that.
Ed, a second it. All right. Any more discussion? Chuck, are you there? Okay. John?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay. Passed.
Okay, I'll contact the fellow tomorrow and I'll have him, if there's a contract that needs to be signed, I'll have him email it to me and then I'll pass it on to you, Mike.
Okay, great. I can sign it and send it right back. So,
okay. The other thing I want you guys to consider with the upcoming town meeting, with the primary election, the state gave the okay for people to run for an office without having to garner the signatures necessary to appear on the ballot. The thought was to keep people from having face-to-face contact. So I don't know, I know it's a little early, but before my brain gets too fried, I think I want to just approach that and see what we should do as a board, and I'll look into what the Secretary of State's office might recommend for folks who want to petition to be on the ballot for any of the vacating offices. So anyway, that's something that I just want you guys to think about. It's nothing that a decision has to be made tonight, but as we could all see from the updated map today from the ACCD, COVID isn't going away, and we're surrounded significantly by it. So we want to try to keep our own community spread down as much as we possibly can. So anyway, that's a food for thought, and I'll do some phone calling, but if you guys have any connections with other towns, just to see what they might be doing. As far as the appropriations, there's none of the current appropriations that we have on the ballot that needs to get signatures this year. They all now have put in the same amount for 3 years, which you guys voted several years ago that if they were on the ballot for 3 consecutive years and didn't need to request any more money, that they did no longer needed to get signatures. So
Okay.
that the only thing that would need the signatures would be any articles that came up before the board and the candidates. The election is very busy. The statistics that I gave you are as of today. 352 early ballots have come in, which represents about 31% of our current voter checklist. They come in during the week. On Tuesdays at 11 o'clock, whatever ballots have come in, we have a team of 4 local election officials, and we run through whatever ballots we have, and we just run them through until they're done. It is posted, so if anybody thought that they wanted to come and check it out, they are welcome with all of the proper safety guidelines in place for them to do so. Unfortunately, the people that show up usually show up after we're all done. So that's gone really well. We're exactly on par with what the vote tabulator number is and what we've checked off on the checklist and what we've received. So that's going well, and I'm pretty grateful for the directive that allowed us to process ballots within the 30 days leading up to the election. We've had a large number of new registrations. I gave you 2 figures, one from the beginning of the year till now, and one from September till now. So you can see that there's been a huge increase of voter registrations, more so than I think I've ever seen. I do want to say thank you to Bob for helping to get the secure Dropbox installed. It looks good. We've got the signage on there to help guide folks. We had a helpful citizen tell us that it wasn't clear where a person was supposed to open up the box. So now we have an arrow that shows them where that they can open the box. So anyway, that's in place and lives up to the guidelines that we had put out there for voters to go onto a site and say, okay, who has a Dropbox? How are you going to be doing your voting? So anyway, we've complied, and I'm very happy about that. And it happened a week ahead of when it was supposed to arrive. So thank you again, Bob, for all your help on that.
You're welcome, Deb. I did have a question for you. When is a good time to meet up with you tomorrow? I got to drop something off to you, and I believe Julie's out this week, so I was going to stop in and take care of the warrants and everything.
Okay. Anytime after 10, Bob. Would
Okay.
be great. I think
All
we
right.
might have a researcher coming in tomorrow, but we'll both be there. So, and the checks are in my office right now, the few that need to be sent out.
Okay.
I wanted to say something about the charging station, just to kind of go back before I finish out. I'm a trustee for the church, and we were looking into a grant at one point for our parking lot. And part of the conditions of the grant were that we would have to install charging stations. That was one of the conditions of the grant. And in doing so, the church would be responsible for paying for the electricity that those charging stations utilized. I can't remember if the church would have been responsible for the upkeep of the charging station, but I'm not sure, but at least the electricity. So I think the church also came to the town at that point also and discussed the grant, and because the parking would be a community parking, like a park and ride. It was a park and ride grant. But anyway, that I just wanted to throw that in there with the charging station, that they are very popular and they are out and about, but there may be added expense to the town with the electricity that the charging station uses. So that should be factored in maybe when considering putting in a charging station. Was there anything else on my memo, Kristen? I can't remember.
Deb, this is Ed.
Yeah.
This is Ed.
Yes.
I remember back to the church, and that's the reason why I brought this up again tonight. Of course, there would have to be, I don't think we, the town or the church, would be expected to supply the electricity. I believe, I'm no expert on this, believe me, but I think it's pretty much you just put your credit card or debit card, whatever, in, and somehow or other it pays for it. I believe.
Yeah, I think, it's worth, I remember it, because it's been a couple years now, Ed, I think, that we were considering that grant.
Yeah, well, about the same time you wanted to pave the parking lot.
Yeah, because it was one and the same. It was a park and ride grant.
Yes. Yeah.
So there seemed to have been some kind of a little quip in there that you just want, whatever avenue that you're considering for the charging station, you just want to make sure what the long-term impact is on what responsibilities the town may or may not have in having a charging station.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, it just came up in my mind as you guys were discussing it. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that sometimes a grant seems all great and wonderful, but there may be some conditions as part of that grant that may not be conducive to what we're looking for. And speaking of grants, I didn't put in my memo, but I did want to say that there was a significant amount of grant money made available to municipal clerks because of the added expenses that have befallen on the communities because of COVID and because of how we've had to run the elections and because of the extra things that we've had to purchase, the extra manpower. So I did apply for a grant. You don't specifically ask for an amount. You just tell them what you're thinking you want to use the money for, and then they tell you what they want to give you. So we did get approved for $5,000, which I'm going to use partially for the extra hours that the assistant town clerk has had to work because of the enormous amount of extra work that we've had to do because of COVID. So that's going to be what part of it is. And whatever extra materials that we've needed to procure to keep the elections running smoothly and safely for the election workers and for the community. So I was pretty tickled with that because it will be very, very helpful and beneficial for what we've had to do and what we're going to have to continue to do to get through the general election. I think that's it, Kristen. I don't know if I keep forgetting to bring my own memo home with me.
You covered everything, Deb.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for me?
John does. Go ahead, John.
Which John?
John,
John
Nor, but you got to unmute.
There we go. I was clicking the wrong button. Deb, thank you so much for all your help over the years. I have a question about the election process in Pawlet. Is there a mechanism whereby a citizen that's voted can find out if their vote was received and was processed and counted?
Well, other than calling the office, you mean, you can go to the Secretary of State's My Voter page. And as soon as we get a ballot in, whether it be through the mail, through the Dropbox, or if somebody comes in and hands it to us, I sit down at the computer and I go into the Secretary of State's portal, and every received ballot is entered as of the date that it was received. And then the ballot, it's not the ballot, it's the certificate envelope. We don't open the certificate envelopes until we do the processing. And then the certificate envelope goes into a locked ballot box until it either gets run through on election day or the day that we do the early voting processing.
Okay, so if I mailed a ballot in and something was wrong, I wouldn't find out about it until possibly election day.
No, if you feel that if you've mailed a ballot and you've kind of said, okay, it's been an appropriate amount of time, you can check the My Voter page. You can call and find out if your ballot has been received, if it doesn't show up on the My Voter page. And if it hasn't been received and you're concerned about it, or you feel that it's been lost, or on election day it still hasn't come in, you're certainly able to vote on another ballot, but you'd have to sign an affidavit of no ballot cast. So you would be saying that I feel that my ballot was mismailed. I sent it, but you haven't received it. So there's the opportunity, but you'd have to fill out the affidavit and sign it. We're doing pretty good. We even, my husband voted, and we did a test to see how long it would take for his ballot to go through the mail. So we put it in our mailbox and let it go up to White River Junction. We mailed it on Monday and it arrived to the office on Thursday. So we're getting in, usually on Mondays and Tuesdays, we're getting a pretty good sized batch of mail-in ballots. So there's ways we can track it. The state of Vermont is pretty adamant that nobody will be denied an opportunity to vote. So if somebody were to come in on election day and their ballot had not come in, they would certainly not be turned away.
Okay. Well, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Deb? Okay. Thank you very much for sharing your report with us, Deb. Have a good evening.
You too. Thank you.
Town treasurers.
Okay, this is Kristen, and I am presenting the treasurer's report on behalf of Julie Mack. There are 2 warrants to be signed. Payroll for the week was $8,907.54. The total accounts payable was $16,770.88. Monies from the general fund, $11,991.39. Highway, $83,98.37. Wastewater, $52,88.42. Insert my financial questionnaire answers here. Respectfully submitted, Julie Mack. So if you guys remember, she sent an email. There's a fantastic document I get to read aloud to you all this evening, but I thought first perhaps you might want to address the warrants.
Okay. Everybody had a chance to look the warrants over? Does anybody
I'll make a
want to
motion that we accept the warrants. This is Chuck.
Okay, Chuck, does somebody want to second that motion that we accept the warrants?
This Ed, I'll second that.
Okay, is there any more discussion about the warrants? Okay, Chuck,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
Okay, so this is Kristen continuing on. Do I have the okay to continue with reading the VLCT financial controls checklist questions and answers as requested by Julie?
Yes, please.
Okay. So section A, question 1, and I'll try to be quick. There are 9 questions. So do municipal officials with control over municipal assets and accounts understand their various responsibilities for implementing and following an adequate system of internal controls? The answer is yes. Treasurer's office has written policies. Select Board has written purchasing policies. Treasurer has assistant whom does bank reconciliations. Town has an annual outside professional audit done. Question 2, has a system of internal financial controls been adopted, and are those controls well documented? Are the duties of municipal employees who have access to municipal assets and accounts clearly defined in writing? Answer, yes. Written policies are posted on the town website and are on file in the clerk's office. At time of adoption, each department was given copies of relevant policies for review. There should be a commitment from both the treasurer and the board to make sure new hires and/or elected officials are presented these policies. These policies have been presented to the auditor. Question 3, are financial policies retained, accessible, and adequately communicated to newly elected officials and newly hired staff? Answer, yes. Policies are posted on the website. A commitment to distribution to new officials and staff should be made. A commitment to budgeting for trainings should be made by the board. Question 4, has the Select Board adopted a fraud prevention policy such as the VLCT model policy and has been communicated to municipal employees during the last year? Answer, no, we do not currently have this in policy. I have sent you the VLCT model policy for review. It will need some wordsmithing to work for our town, but we should work on adopting this policy at the Select Board level or jointly with the board and treasurer. Question 5, does the municipality have an independent professional audit done on an annual basis? Answer, yes. Question 6, does the Select Board regularly receive and review financial reports from the treasurer regarding actual revenue and expenses as compared with budgeted revenue and expenses? Answer, yes. On a quarterly basis, the board receives 1, budgeting status report, 2, expenditure report, 3, revenue report, 4, balance sheet. The distribution of these reports by the treasurer to the board is in a treasurer's office policy. Question 7, are municipal officials bonded or covered by liability insurance? Answer, yes, through VLCT. Question 8, are financial and accounting duties segregated so that no individual is able to perform all related elements of a financial transaction? The answer is no. Question 9, are all employees encouraged to take annual vacations, and are their accounting functions performed by other employees when they are on vacation? Answer, yes. As a small town, it is impossible to completely segregate duties. The board has access to 1, quarterly financial reports, 2, account statements through the bank. Also, an annual audit is performed and account reconciliations are performed by my assistant in an effort to segregate duties. That concludes the VLCT financial controls checklist questions and answers. And Julie has stated in an email that should the board have any questions about this, they can be directed to her via email and or phone call when she returns to the office on Monday.
Okay, thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions about that? Okay, I guess we got to put on our short-term list to deal with number 4. I would say, wouldn't you, Kristen? We should bring that up so we could get that adopted, get that tweaked and adopted for us.
Yes.
Any more questions regarding town treasurer? Okay, emergency management. Nothing?
This is Kristen again. Since we are at the second meeting of the month, there are no reports for either the health officer or the emergency management director.
Okay. Did you see that Jill just sent us something during the meeting?
I sure did.
Would you mind reading that, please?
So this is Kristen from Jill Marsano from Vermont Utility Management Services for the updates from September 2020. A1 is scheduled to pump the sludge out the back septic tank 2 in the coming weeks. In addition, we will work to get the trash pump ordered ahead of this pumping to keep them from pumping the new flow from tank 1 between truckloads. Future priorities, RFQ status, ? Status of manhole covers, has the pavement been removed and the risers added? This has been a reoccurring one. Replace air valve near end of force main from Spruce Gum Pump Station. Spruce Gum Pump Station, repair and replace pump number 1. Recommend jetting of collection system to get rid of solids building up to prevent future unwelcome clogs. So while I'm still chit-chatting, I can report that the SOQs, which is the statement of qualifications from the engineering firms of which the town requested RFQs, which is the request for qualifications, they did come back. I forwarded them to you all via email. I believe the 3 firms that we received their statements of qualifications were from Otter Creek Engineering, Dubois and King, and I believe Hoyle Tanner and Associates. There were physical copies that should have been also mailed to the town hall, which I have not personally received, but I believe that they should be there. So should any of you want to go have a copy in hand, that is where you would find that. So that's all I have for that. And then does anybody, I guess, can we respond to her status of the manhole covers?
Yeah, do you got Keith, do you have any input on the manhole covers? I fell asleep on this.
No, I can't find my mute button, Mike, that's all. Yeah, no, I have located them all, but we have not pulled the blacktop off, and they're all there, and they haven't had the risers put on. The risers are in the pit, and it's something we'll be working on as time allows, but it's
okay, work in progress. All right.
Yeah. If she needs to get into one, we know where they are. If you look, you'll see circles with X's on them as you drive down 153 in New Street, and they're all located other than the ones that are outside of the blacktop, which is Ronnie Taylor's driveway, Irwin Winehouse old driveway, and a couple places like that. But those are accessible anyway. So
is there still one on the end of Chicken Alley that we can't find yet?
There is one. It actually goes out beyond Chicken Alley and goes to Debbie Waite's old house, and then the next 2. There's one manhole behind there that they go into that I have not found. So
okay, but it's not covered with blacktop, but probably 6
I
8
don't
inches of
think
dirt.
it's covered with blacktop. I think it's in that backyard. I'm hoping it's not
6 8 inches of dirt, no doubt. Okay.
Well, or there's a new swimming pool there. I wondered, it's in pretty close proximity to where it might be. So.
Oh, great. Okay.
And it's new people in there too, Mike.
Frank.
So nobody remembers,
Sure.
There's not anybody that's been there for a long time that remembers the manhole being exposed. So.
Right. Okay. All right.
This is Frank.
Well, go ahead, Frank.
Keith, is it possible to use the fire department's infrared cameras to search for differences in temperature? Because those sewer lines would be down in the ground enough so that it would, in the summer, it'd be cooler, and certainly during the winter time, it might show up as with a heat signature as it gets colder into December and January.
That might be a viable option, Frank.
Good one, Frank. Thank you. Okay, so I guess the only other thing I could think is like some of our bigger projects we're going to need to see if we can get some kind of estimate on. I'll reach out to her about that so that we can put it on a ballot, maybe as a separate line item, like to upgrade the pump station 1 year and then jet the sewers another year or something like that. But I'll reach out to her and ask her about that. And you can keep a note on me in case you have to nudge me, please, Kristen. So we'll try and get that squared away so we at least know where we stand. Any other questions about the treatment plant?
Yes, this is Kristen. What is the plan for the RFQ, SOQ situation?
Okay, so I guess I gotta study that a little bit more, but I think that once we can now put it out to bid. I think now that we have three qualified engineering companies, so we can have, I guess I got to talk to Wayne,
Okay.
Wayne Graham a little bit.
So
So
why?
I'll try and get an email that it would include you,
Okay.
and see if he can help me along with this so that we can be a little bit more on the correct path.
Okay. I'll let her know that you're still mulling everything, and I will
Yeah.
add it to the next agenda.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Older unfinished business. John, you had an elevator story?
Yeah, just to refresh your memory, we did get a letter from a competing company to ours, from the salesman for that company out of Burlington, saying they would like to, it was a cold call, so they would like to see if they could do business with us. I think from what I get from talking to a man, Felix Cadell is his name, for Coney or Kone elevator company. There's 4 or 5 elevator service companies in the area. And 2 of them have merged or been acquired by one or the other, Bay State. It doesn't involve ours, which is named Schindler. So this salesperson was trying to investigate and encourage some people who had contracts with these 2 companies that consolidated, and would be a time for them to get out of their contract and go with them, Coney or Cone. And so that was the basis for the letter he sent out to a lot of people, not knowing whether, but I'll keep working on it. But there's 4 or possibly 5 companies, all of which I haven't completely investigated yet. But that's how far I've gotten on that.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Okay. Older unfinished business. The eviction process is in the works. However, until we can get the newly recorded deed and all that stuff, we can't actually do the final paperwork on it. And Deb is working on it, and with Merrill, so it's all in process. It's just steps we have to take. So that's where we stand with that. New business. Anybody else have any older unfinished business?
Yeah.
Chuck, I'd like to bring to the board's attention, you remember a while back, I don't know if it was May or June, but it was brought to our attention that supposedly the deal with Cameron and Ashley had been put to bed. He supposedly had bought the property. Well, I'm informing the board that the deal is not put to bed. He never paid for the property in a timely manner. But he has just recently put a new building permit in Jonas Rosenthal's hands, of which Jonas signed. So I don't know what the select board wants to do in this matter, but I don't know how he could resubmit a permit when he I guess we just need to our attorney was involved, as you recall, back in May or June, that said that the purchase was going ahead, but it never did.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Okay, I'll reach out to her and see what happens on that.
I would think, Chuck again, I would think we would need to see the permit that Cameron put in Jonas's hands that he approved, maybe.
If he falsified information on the permit, i.e. like he said he owned property that he didn't own, well, then he's in a world of trouble. If he lied on a permit, so.
This is Kristen. You should all have in your email inboxes from a couple of weeks ago the most recent list of updated approved permits from Jonas. So it just FYI, what you need might be in there, perhaps.
Also, this is Deb. Jonas will be in the office tomorrow if anybody wants to have a dialogue with him with regard to permits that have been issued and or permits that are pending. I think it's important not to assume where the permit is placing a structure. So like I said, Jonas will be there tomorrow.
I've got the list here. This is John. And I don't see anything for, what's his last name?
Cameron Pertran.
Perham.
I don't see any permit given out with his name on it, at least at that date. It must have happened before or after, excuse me.
So, excuse me, John. This is Ed. I don't think we should jump the gun on this until we know a little bit more about what's going on. And if he has put in for a permit and where the building will be located and all that. I think we should take a wait and see attitude on what's going on.
Well, that would be okay, but if he didn't end up following through with purchasing the property from Ashley, then he's in violation. So he broached his agreement.
Okay.
So.
But that's not the first violation in town that we haven't tended to, so.
So we'll, like you say, we need to have all our research in order before we start making decisions. So. Okay, thanks for that information, Chuck. Anything else in our old or unfinished business?
Yes, this is Kristen. Just a quick update for the rest of the board that Mike and John and I have been continuing work on searching for candidates for the web coordinator position, and progress has been made, but there's still information to be determined. So that will be presented, I believe, by the next board meeting. Is that what was determined?
I would think that should be no problem. We should be able to have that sorted out by then.
So that was just a quick update I wanted to share.
Thank you.
I think we can report we had 4 very qualified candidates. So the search, as far as we've gotten, has been very productive.
Absolutely.
This is Frank.
So, go ahead, Frank.
Unfinished business and positions. The energy coordinator for the town there was something going on with the planning commission where information was being solicited from various individuals for the planning commission to review. And there's been some interest possibly in restarting an energy group. Harry apparently resigned from that as well. I sent Kristen an email indicating I would be interested in that position. But that position's open and we're reviewing Harry's box of materials. I think that Jessica has it now, possibly, and it's other members of the commission are going to see it, to see what's there. But this would be something that's going to be needed possibly to dovetail with the planning commission's directions for whatever Harry had done to be continued. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. We'll keep that on the list. We have to review that too. New business? Kristen?
So a couple of things. The first one, I'm just looking to pull it up here. So there was a letter that was sent to the select board from Lewis Canfield in West Pawlet. And Lewis is interested in buying stone, specifically crushed shale from the slate quarry that the town of Pawlet owns up on Route 153. So just wondering about the possibility of that.
So I guess we'll let you answer that so you can use the right terminology, but I know that the town can't sell it, right, Keith?
Correct. We can't sell it. It's, we're not to be in competition with anybody that's in the business. So, and that's why we get our tax breaks and everything else. So there's a not to compete clause with anything. Depending on what he wanted there, if he is a taxpayer, they've been allowed to take from the slag pile as needed in the past, and he could probably do that. But I got an idea he's liking the nice stuff that Riley's been piling for us. So, I guess we need more information on what exactly he's looking for.
Well, the thing of it is, he would have to have a insured contractor.
Correct.
Come in there and they could get the stone for free of charge. The contractor would have to do some in-kind service to the town. So there is a slag policy, a slag pile policy that you could share with them, or you could suggest that, what's it, Riley, not Riley, who's Ryan, that has the crushed stone right there at the number 4 quarry, Keith?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's the contractor right there, Riley.
Ryan Davenport.
Davenport.
So this is Kristen. If I am going to be the individual corresponding with Lewis, do I have permission to just simply say that the town is not permitted to sell slate from our?
No, I think there's a policy. I saw it today in the town office that states our policy, and I think that would be a first thing to send to them, which it's right where the researchers, right above where the researchers have their desk.
Okay. I am unavailable during working like 9 to 5 hours the next 5 days, but would somebody be able to scan that to me and I can send it to him?
I think I can get it for you, Kristen.
Okay.
I think I may have it.
Okay. Because I'm happy to correspond. I just want to, for me, it's going to be evening. And
right.
So yeah, if somebody wouldn't mind getting me that policy, I would be happy to let him know about it.
Mike, if you aren't able to get that to her, just somebody let me know and I can scan it and email it.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks,
I'll check tomorrow and see if I can find it.
Okay.
Mike, this is Chuck. Probably
Yeah.
just as easy to let Deb scan it and send it to Kristen.
Sure. If you can do that, that would be great.
Will do.
Thank you, Deb.
You're welcome.
So then the other item for new business is that the select board also received an email from Diane Mack on behalf of the library board. Did everybody get a chance to review that?
Yes. I did.
Okay.
Yeah, what
So, in essence, the library board just would like to respectfully request that the board, as well as the library director, Mary Lou Willits, receives information on the timeline in regard to the building maintenance concerns that they mentioned in that email, specifically regarding the steps and the probability of ice falling again from the roof as it did last year. So that's just more something that to put on everybody's radar. I let her know that I would bring it up with the board this evening.
So we've had a lot of discussions about this and it's turned into a lot of money, but does anybody else have any new revelations about potential avenues we can do to guard against the snow coming off the roof, or anybody know anybody that we could find a somewhat more affordable plan to do the front concrete stair replacement? I guess we'll just have to try and come up with a plan if we can all be thinking about it and see if there was an issue with snow coming off the front roof last year too, correct, John?
Yes.
Yeah, so.
This is Frank.
Yes, Frank.
I talked to several people, and for the short term, it might be possible to get some of that epoxy-based cement concrete mix stuff and just resurface the existing stairs with that stuff. It's pretty durable. They make a version of it for doing that with sidewalks and for cement steps. It's very strong stuff. And in regards to the access and the snow coming off the roofs, Marty had this thing going on with the putting metal things up on the roof, and I saw somebody doing that to a roof the other day, putting these things up to prevent the ice from coming off. Has anybody looked into that? Given it might be cheaper and in the short term, it might work until a longer term plan can come about that is everybody's in agreement with in the town that will approve that with funding. Thank you.
Well, I don't know. The only thing that I know is whenever snow stayed on a slate roof, especially one as old as that did, right at the top of the snow where the water melted, it leaked through and under the slate because the slate doesn't seal, it only sheds. Is that correct, Tom? Would you mind commenting on this?
Well, I have been involved in the library with doing a retrofit snow guard quite a few years ago. The only thing you get into is you're absolutely correct. Slate is meant to shed water, not to store it, and it will back up after it freezes and goes up into the slate and creates a leak. But the snow guards that they were looking at on that, you're putting a lot of pressure on each piece of slate because it's a retrofit. And instead of being nailed into the deck, it's hooked onto the top of a piece of slate. So that buildup, especially if you got heat leaking out of that building, is going to freeze and create a heavier weight to that roof. So my suggestion is if you need to do something over a doorway, take that slate up and put the regular, like a rail system, snow guard rail system, or a true snow guard underneath it. I mean, you can continue to do a Band-Aid, but it is what it would then be a Band-Aid by doing the retro. So, that's a tough one. It was a bummer we didn't do snow guards on that when they did it. So,
Well, this is Ed. And I think, Chuck, you remember when we went to school down there, I believe there was a rail system in place on that roof. The reason I remember it is when we were playing kickball or whatever, sometimes the ball would get stuck up there. Somebody'd have to sneak around the back, go up on the roof and get it on.
I have heard that before. Actually, the rail, if you can do that through the historical society because of that building, actually a rail would actually probably be the best part on that building, because you would do it like 36 inches up.
Yeah.
And then what you would do is it comes with a bracket that you're going to remove that slate, and then that goes right to the deck, which would then go into the trusses. So that would definitely, that might be better than a retrofit snow guard. So, yeah.
For some reason, nobody knows what happened to it or if it was even there anymore. But anyhow, I know it was there.
Yeah. But they got nice ones now. I mean, you can get different colors, like a soft tone, so it kind of blends in and it would pass, historical, it would pass historical values. It's a company called Alpine Snow Guards, and they could help that out. They're out of Stowe, Vermont, or they were. I'm pretty sure that's where they're still based out of. We don't handle snow guards at this time, but Jeff Kelly, local guy in town, or any of the slate roofers would know where to get that information.
Okay.
I don't think that solved your solution tonight, Mike, but hopefully it gave you a direction.
Right. And I understand that we could probably keep the snow from sliding off that way, but we still haven't, without pulling all the slate up for quite a ways and putting a membrane under it. Once you got a warm day, you got a bunch of slate there. The water that melts is going to run up and under the slate and leak into the roof, right, Tom?
You could have that if it builds up. I think they were 18s or 20s, so your exposure on them is like 7.5 or 8.5 inches. So yes, to answer your question, it would be best to pull it up and put like an ice and water shield on that deck to help minimize it, or a membrane. Correct.
Right. This is it again. The only problem is, once again, the safest way is to block it off, I feel, because you're not going to be able to block your valleys where the ice is going to come down.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So. All right. Well, let's see if we can collectively try and come up with some form of short-term solution to lead to a longer, better solution at the end of the day.
I will add that to next week's agenda.
Thank you. Is there any more new business?
Not from me.
Okay. How about public comment? Does anybody out there have any public comment?
Ryan?
Ryan, go ahead.
I was wondering if there's been any decisions made on the property. I believe it's 3554 on Route 153 in West Pawlet.
What we're trying to do right now is we're trying to we need to take over that property and put it up for sale.
All right. Any ideas on when that would be, if there'll be notices out?
At this point, I don't know if all the paperwork has gone through, but it's available for sale already. So we'd have to go to the town treasurer and see what the outstanding bill is against it, plus all legal fees associated with the property.
So you, how would I figure out what the grand total on that would be?
The town treasurer could, between her and the tax collector, they should be able to come up with a number that would be for that, the value of that property, what the town has against it.
Okay.
This is Ed.
Okay, Ed?
Shouldn't we hold off on putting a value on it until we know exactly what we're going to have in it? I mean, don't we still have people there?
Yeah, after we have the value at this particular point. You're right. Until we can clear the property, we probably can't have a total figure, or we can't sell it with people still living in there. So
We don't know what we may incur some cleanup costs also.
Cleanup costs, et cetera. Yes.
What if it was bought as is and I would handle all the cleanup?
Okay, we could. That's something we'd have to talk to the attorney about. So if you want to get the number that we have outstanding against it and make the town an offer, that would be the next. Then we could consider that offer and move forward.
Okay.
Would we have to put that out to bid, Mike, or not that we want to, but
I'm not really sure. We've never been in this situation before, so it's kind of uncharted territory at this point.
because I know Julie has a spreadsheet on the property. She also has a per diem cost that she can add to as the days go on. So
Okay.
she'll be in the office next week.
Remember, this is Chuck. Now remember, we also have incurred attorney fees now, of which we need to have in our hands to add to our expenses also.
Exactly. Some of the attorney fees are still outstanding that haven't been added, but they would all have to be added in before the final number could be determined. But at this point, we could get an estimate plus whatever else we needed for closing costs and all that stuff are all associated with the sale of that property. So.
Okay, but to get started, Julie is the one I'd want to speak with, right?
Yeah, she's off this week. You'd have to find out next week.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is Ed again. I
Yes, Ed.
would feel more comfortable if we waited until it was clear, and there may be more than one person that wants it. So, you know,
anything we make above and if the sale of the property, anything more than we have into it goes back to the original owner.
Correct.
So, but yes, there is a potential for other people to would consider it and maybe want to pay more. So,
Yeah, well, let's remember, it's a hot commodity at the moment.
right.
Places are selling like hotcakes, building lots. So
It's a very valuable lot.
It's a lot more valuable now than it was 10 months ago.
Absolutely.
This is Kristen. So do you think it's appropriate just that we let Ryan know that there's still some gathering that needs to be done on behalf of the town before we can begin to make those next plans, but there will be, that information will be made available when the town's ready to entertain selling?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's the correct
Just to
way of
avoid, just so
phrasing
Ryan,
it.
that you don't have to go and run around and do all this stuff. I think the town still has some information that needs to be gathered.
Yes.
Okay.
But you could get the preliminary numbers are there. So,
But thank you for your interest.
okay. So we'll have to finish out all the process first. So. Anybody else have any public comment? John?
Nor?
John Noor, can you hear me?
Yes.
I just have a question. If there were ever any plans to put a cell tower, like at the top of Chet Hill or whatever, between West Pawlet and Pawlet, because there's a huge dead zone. I mean, even in Pawlet, when you drive down that main stretch towards Dorset, there's no cell service. It's a safety thing, but it's also a e-commerce thing, and there's a lot of families moving here, and I think a lot of people make their decisions on what if there's cell service. If there's no cell service, a lot of people can't conduct business.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything that was even looked into in that area down through there. 153 you're talking about all the way to Rupert?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I mean that too. I'm just thinking about where we live here in West Pawlet. It's a little better if you walk, towards Granville, but then it's gone again until you get to like halfway to Granville. But
yeah, it is very. Yeah, and it's spotty. There's some spots south of the village that it get it, and then it's gone for a long ways down through there too. So I have not heard of anybody even looking into it.
Right.
This is Deb. Several years ago, when I first took the office that I now hold, I did look into it and contacted a lot of the providers on the possibility of bringing the additional cell service into the community with a cell tower. At the time, I think we were talking about like the church steeple. And at that time, and again, this is several years ago, it would not be beneficial because they wouldn't gain new subscribers by installing a cell tower in this area. So like I said, that was several years ago, but it was looked into, and I made several phone calls to several providers. I can't remember at the time who I know it was AT&T, maybe Verizon, I don't remember, but it was looked into.
Okay.
Well, I know that VTEL made a push under a new state mandate that the governor put out about 4 or 5 years ago to bring high-speed internet to rural areas. I don't think this is any exception to a rural area. I know that VTEL stopped when they got to Pawlet and went the other direction, but there might be some program there within Vermont to bring services like these to this area.
This is Ed again. John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Our representative is on the Energy and Technology Committee. Would he be one to ask some of these questions of?
Yeah, I mean,
He would definitely have more knowledge to offer and about the current state of affairs and where. Sure. Good idea. Robin Chestnut Tangerman in Middletown Springs. He's our state rep for the area, and he's running to be reelected against the lady who was on our meeting earlier, Sally Aki. But contact him in Middletown Springs. He's in the book, Sundog Lane.
Because he is on that committee, I believe has been for 6 years. The Energy and Technology.
Yeah, I
Yep.
think, yeah.
Okay, is there any more public comment?
This is just real quick. This is Kristen. I saw that Louis Canfield came in and joined us at the meeting. Louis, just want to let you know that we did discuss your email, and I will be back in touch with you as the assistant to the select board.
Okay, excellent. Well, hearing no more public comment, somebody want to make a motion?
You know I will. This Ed, make a motion.
Excellent. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, so Ed made a motion and John seconded it. All in favor, Chuck?
I'm gone.
Yeah, Ed?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
All right, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Thanks, Kristen.